The judge has hammered.
I'm sitting.
Dr. Jones?
Yes, sir.
On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight on this cold Thursday night. During our time of moment of silence, I would like for us to remember this, Emily Prater and her family, and her dad, and this Brighton High School family during this tragic accident this week. This young life, senior high school, been taken, and we want to remember this family and her friends as they go through the next days and coming months. And also would like to remember Susan Bass Griffin, a former board member that served here back in the late 90s and early, well, on up to about 2012, I think. And let's do that during our moment of silence. Let's stand for the pledge and then have a moment of silence, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated, please. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Motion by Mr. Davis, second by Mr. Farrell. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Are there any additions to the agenda? Next item is the consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove any item for discussion? If not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Mr. Clark, second by Mr. Jones. Those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, no. Motion passed. Dr. Bird, Director of Instruction, report.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Just a couple things from the instruction side. First of all, this week was lead conference in Nashville. We had 16 administrators and supervisors who went to that conference. Just got back this afternoon and had some great information, lots of stuff on reading, which you know that's our adoption curriculum this year's for reading. And we've asked the principals and supervisors next week at the principals meeting to share out their takeaways from the conference. So we look forward to hearing from them next week at the principals meeting. Also, hopefully you already know this, but in case you don't, congratulations to Miss Marissa Richardson, the principal at Munford Elementary. She was Tuesday night at the lead conference. They had a banquet and a reception and all of those things. And V was named West Tennessee Principal of the Year. So we're very excited about that. And she was sitting beside me and she was very surprised when she won. So it was a good night, but we want to say publicly congratulations to Ms. V. Appreciate all of her hard work. And then the last thing I have, we just this afternoon got an email with an ACT contract, and I think a copy of that was added to your packet when you got here this evening, and we will need a motion for approval of that contract.
I see it in our folder here. Do we have a motion to approve the ACT state testing program? Motion by Mr. Shipley, second by Ms. McClarky. Are there any questions?
Is this just standard? This is what the kids take, all the juniors, is that right?
700, and if I mess this up, Marion can jump in. It will be for 775 juniors, funds to come through the BEP at cost of $28,675. But yes, it's standard.
All juniors get one freebie, is that the deal?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions? Those in favor of this, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, no. Motion passed.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Burger. Director of Operations report, Dr. Fisher.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just wanted to update you on the adult education classes. We began, of course, accepting students September through the end of October. We're very excited about that. And so we hold orientation every Thursday for those within the community that are interested in the classes. And we actually have 42 actual students that have taken their first assessment and are moving through the program. So just to make you aware.
42 already?
Yes, sir.
Nice.
And we're really excited about that. And that is just with our classes hosted here in Covington. So, we are gonna get ours started in Munford and also, the correctional facility as well. Also another update, earlier in the year, school-age childcare, we began some discussions with you at that time, and one of the items that came out of that conversation was that we wanted to form an advisory committee with our school-age childcare parents. So we began that through an application process, and those parents that were interested. So we selected one parent from each of our school sites. It's also a very diverse group. We met with them for the first time in October. The purpose of the advisory committee is to increase the engagement and the communication with us and school-age childcare. Also better access to the needs that the parents feel like they have, as well to enhance our services through school-age childcare. So it was a great meeting, great sharing of information, great communication. We will be meeting quarterly, so our next meeting will be in January. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you tonight. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fisher.
Dr. Fisher, Alex, I was at the high school for the career awareness class, and she really did an excellent job
Thank
explaining
you.
adult education and extending an invitation to those students that may have had someone in their family that needs to get their diploma. She did a
So,
fine job, yeah.
our student services coordinator from the adult education program actually spoke to our career technical classes there at the high schools. So, we're just trying to get the word out.
Teresa's doing a really good
She
job,
is
even
doing
like
a-
social media and stuff, she's putting out, she's doing a great job.
Absolutely.
Who is it now?
Sarita Austin.
Sarita Austin, graduate
Graduate
of
of Brighton High.
Brighton High School.
Great.
And had experience
great
working in
fifth
the
grade English
program. So she's doing great.
Phenomenal.
I know
I was thinking about two people.
I think she had a pretty good principal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fisher.
You
And, Dr. Collins and,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and Mr. Wallace,
That's correct.
that's okay. Construction coordinator.
Yes, sir.
Hey, sir.
Get my clicker out. Before we get going here, you know, I've been talking about this for a little bit, was this, our capital improvement plan. We want to do a 4-year capital improvement plan. And Donnie, and myself, and Mr. Glenn Turner, and Mr. Barnett, Ms. Kagi, and a number of us have gotten together to work on this. You know, it's kind of been a work in progress. We're gonna show you, what we've done thus far, which is, you know, a lot of it's gonna be obviously projection. We have some bids still out that we're gonna be looking at to see how those come back, to get some of those numbers. You know, this document is gonna have to continue to be kind of fluid, because you never know. We could have something blow off one of the buildings, or something go on, or something fall out that we don't think is going to. We're gonna have to make adjustments as that goes. And there will be things that we continue to work on, like Mr. Joyner, when you mentioned the rails at Munford High Stadium. You know, that's stuff that we're gonna work on. But those things are gonna pop up, and we're gonna need to input those kind of as they come up and make adjustments as we go. But this gives us a really good overall idea, so you can kind of see a projection over the next number of years of what we're planning on spending for just stuff that is broken. Things right now that we know that we need to fix now are either gonna get worse or they're already in that condition to begin with. And just to kind of upgrade. So I'm gonna let Mr. Donnie go from here, and I'll run the clicker unless you have a question for me as well. Mr. Donnie?
All right, a lot of the items from each school are gonna be repetitious, and I guess we can go over each item if you'd like. Toka Elementary, of course, upgrade LED lighting, interior and exterior. Of course, you see where we projected those numbers out. Parking lot repairs, there's some cracks developing in the parking lot that needs some repair down there before it gets worse and you have to start replacing asphalt. Of course, you see asphalt paving around the safe room. I mean, that was done in last year. Let me kind of go over that first. You know, everything in 18-19 is highlighted in green. You know, it's complete. Dr. Combs kind of want to show what we've done last year, some of the items, and then projected from that point on. HVAC replacement, door hardware, Evidently, you know, it had some broken hardware, missing keys, and Barnett said, you know, you spent that much, money replacing hardware. Intercom handset, that was basically, you know, you got the handset in the reception area, and the principal wanted one in her office, so that's what that is. Any questions on Token?
And, Mr. Donnie, I think you mentioned this, you know, when it says upgrade lighting, Mr. Donnie had a great idea of moving our, you know, we wanna go ahead and upgrade everything to LED. You know, that's gonna end up saving us money anyway, on energy savings, and of course, the lighting is gonna be better. There'll be a number of things we can do with that, but the great idea that he had was also busting it up interior and exterior. So we know, you know, we're probably gonna shoot for trying to do as much exterior first as we can, as you'll see as we go through this, and get all those done, because quite frankly, we'll probably have the most cost savings if we can go ahead and do that exterior lighting first. You'll see that, the biggest bang for our buck there. We'll start getting that back quicker because those lights run longer. And then, once we go to interior, you'll see those too, but those are where some of the bids are still going up. I believe that, we have someone going to, it's Munford High, right, Mr. Donnie? Next week, and they're gonna give us a bid. We were looking for one of our biggest buildings that was also not one of our newer buildings, to get an idea of inside, what it would, kind of an estimate of what it would cost to LED interchange inside and outside. And so they're gonna give us an estimate for Munford High School, and that would give us a pretty good idea of where we're looking for everything else. Because you know how the buildings go in Tipton County, in the school buildings, we have some really new ones and some really old ones. So it's gonna be different how we upgrade those. Those will all be different costs. Anyway, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Are there any grants available to upgrade that?
The group that presented, that we, Johnson Controls, when they talked to us, and some of the others did too, they talked about grants that were available. There may be some out there. I know that, Mr. Donnie is in that stream where he would come across some of those. We've been checking out with a number of folks, and if there are, we're definitely gonna jump on them. Thus far, we haven't seen any specifically for LED lighting, but we're definitely gonna jump on those if we can see them, absolutely. I'm sorry, Mr. Donnie, go ahead.
I'm just gonna skip, you know, the repetitious items from school to school, and kind of go through the different ones. Austin V, sewage pump replacement, had a sewage pump out there that went out, of course, we bought pump motors, and, last year, I mean, it's not complete yet, so he's gonna finish that up in this year's budget. Some parking lot repairs out there as well, right in front of the building. It needs some new asphalt and some VCT replacement, basically the vinyl floor tile. Any questions on Austin T? Brighton Elementary, had to replace the intercom last year, and of course, you know, we're closing out the sewage lagoon, tying into the city of Brighton on their sewage. Of course, you know, I projected that into next year's budget, you know, closing that out of state and two volumes. Of course, you know, a lot of people don't know there's a radio transmitter tower at the old sewer plant in a little small building. And basically, we're gonna move it over into the sewage plant that, we're abandoning. Of course, upgrade the hot water system. You've got a hot water system there, this little hydronic boiler and a 500-gallon storage tank that's 38 years old, and they're on their last leg. Upgrade the fire alarm system. Have this in basically all the 6 schools we built in the early 80s. They're hybrid systems. They're zoned and need to be upgraded into an addressable system. In other words, if somebody books a pool station, you don't have to guess where it's at, you know where it's at, so I'll tell you where to go to. Roof repairs, Dr. Combs and I, you know, walked over a lot of the buildings and noticed, you know, some roof material lifting up on the south end of the oldest part of the building. Install storm drainage in front of the building. You notice if you drive by there, there's a ditch right in front of the building. Basically just running some culverts through there and covering it up. There won't be a ditch right in front of the building. Install a backup generator Of course, none of the older schools have generators in case, the power goes out, and sometimes that's quite frequent. Generator goes out, you don't have any intercom, fire alarms, depending on the battery backup, it only lasts about an hour and a half, so that's the reason we think, all our schools need a backup generator. SACC awning, was put in last year, fence around the septic tank, before we closed out the event.
And those backup generators we installed will be natural gas generators, is that right?
That's correct. Covenant Integrated Arts Academy, of course, those are a lot of repetitious, re-roof the gym, because we completed that last year. Crestview Elementary School, these, well, I got a green light in there, I guess I failed to take that out. It hadn't been done, it hadn't been completed. That's projected out in 2022-23. Roof repairs, there again, there's some areas on the gym and the south wall that needs repairing this year. I'll go down to, replace the kitchen door frame, which all it does is kind of repetition.
And before we go to this next one, my mom would get on to me, she knew I was interrupting this much, I'm sorry, Mr. Donnie. Obviously, when you look across the board, we're looking at what this is gonna try to project out over the next few years, and Mr. Donnie did a really good job of trying to make it even. So basically, at the end, which you'll see in a little bit, at the end of each one of these, we're trying to keep it to around $1 million, something like that we can ask for out of fund balance, so that we can complete these every year. That's why they're spread out like that, so that we can kind of pace ourselves and get it, because we're obviously gonna be good stewards with the money that we have, so we don't wanna deplete that account, but about $1 million a year, we feel pretty comfortable that we can get out and make these repairs, unless there's some kind of emergency and we need to ask for something else, but, that's why it's spread out over those years. Sorry, Mr. Donnie, go ahead.
That's all right. Drummond's, you got the sewage plant upgrade, in this year, closing down the old sewer plant and tying into the line going from Munford to the Mississippi River. Ms. Mills also asked about installing some parking lot lights out front, SACC awning, and door frames and door lock replacements. Munford Elementary, I think most of the things are just repetitious. Brighton Middle, we replaced the hot water heater down there. It's not like the older schools, it's just a single hot water heater serving just part of the building. You got door hardware replacement and parking lot repairs. Crestview Middle, of course, we 100% on replacing that roof, last year's budget and this year's budget. Need to replace, one chiller out there. There's 4 chillers and one of them is down and needs to be replaced. In other words, we're down to about 75% on cooling. It'll cool the building fine, but if you lose another one, then you're gonna get in trouble if it's really hot. HVAC controls. That's controlling the fan coil units. Basically, it's a computer that controls PLC controllers and water shutoff valves. And after about 30 years, they're pretty much gone. Some of the valves are leaking through, which, medium temperature where you need heat in the morning, by the afternoon you need cooling. You just about have to have the chiller on and the boiler at the same time, and when those valves are leaking through, they're just playing battles with one another. And that makes the utility cost go out the roof. Boiler parts. I'm not sure what that is, to be quite honest. But I can find out. Evidently, they think replacing parts on the boiler. So backup generator. Munford Middle, Everything seems to be repetitious on the two middle schools. Brighton High School, roof repairs, roof replacements. There's some storm drainage on the north end of the football field, needs to be, corrected. And some repairs on the parking lot. Coven High School, got some, roof repairs on the band room, weight room. Of course, you know, we just done the cafeteria. LED lighting, football facility upgrades.
Does that include the concession stand?
Yes.
Yes, sir. That's the money we already have earmarked for that. It was approved like 20 years ago, whatever it was that came out. Yes, sir, that's that money, not including, what we've already spent for architect fees.
Yeah, the sewer drain repair underneath the hallway going to the band room and kitchen and band room upgrades. Munford High School. It's pretty much repetitious there. Storm drainage around the baseball field. You know, if you've ever been down there, you notice it's just a concrete ditch down there. You got a little walkway from over to the press box. Just kind of worries me if somebody wants to step off and thing hurt yourself.
So on their, the handrails on their stadium, would that be, does that come out of our budget, or does that come out of Booster Club? I'm just curious. I don't know.
That'll be our capital improvement.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And we helped them out on that bottom one, as you can see my button there's in front of it, sorry, right there. The gym basketball goals upgrade, those goals are so heavy. They replaced the side goals, they had the glass goals there on the side, but those goals are too heavy for the current systems that we're used to pull them up. Remember the old hand crank?
Oh, yeah.
And they just got where those gears have stripped out and they're bad and they're dangerous because they're so heavy, they'll come back down if you're not careful. So that's including the upgrade. We've already started working on that to replace those with motorized gears so that they come up and they can hold the weight of those goals. Especially basketball season's coming, we wanna make sure that's done. And so they're already working on that. I talked to Dr. Fee about it today. They're already started working on it.
The other item was Munford High School, the asphalt replacement on that back drive going down to Park Street, and rock out at the soccer field. Alternative learning centers, LED, HVAC, fire alarm, central office, LED, build a ramp at the portable building over here. Replaces porch at the west end of this portable building. HVAC for the server room, build a parking area, rock only, that's the area right back here that you see the 33C in. Install 8-foot fence, that shop area, you know, where we had the portable building out here at one time. Most of that fence just T-post and just wire stretched across there, so I think Dr. Holmes wants to put a good-looking chain link fence across there. Equipment covers for storage. Down at Brighton, they've got some Connex containers that basically put a cover over the park, you know, tractors, more equipment under where they wouldn't have rain all winter. And then updating the CO building, we've done some painting, carpet, things of that nature. And next item is, I kind of put what we're paying architect and engineering on all projects. For the Coven High School athletic, for roof replacements, or sewage lagoons and things like that. You can see the figures that we spent last year and what we spent this year.
And just to be clear, those numbers right there, that's not money we spent on the central office.
No.
That's just put in this category because
That's all
for everything, yes, sir.
Then, of course, you know, capital improvements, all small projects. I mean, that's like painting, landscaping and things like that. it was so many items in there, I know y'all didn't want to listen to all that.
No.
And of course, you see the grand total is $1,065,929. And you see the budget line items, what budget they come out of, and you see the totals there. Now, if you look at the, this year, you know, we budgeted, like $2,023,000. And you see all these numbers add up to $2,224,000. So we're a little bit short. I'll let Dr. Combs address that.
I would probably go to some of my good friends, Mr. Schofer at the county commission, and see if they will allow us to possibly, take out probably around another 200,000. You know, we haven't hit that 1 million mark this year, so, something like that so that we can complete this year's information and kind of keep us up, with all that. Pleasure having you here this evening, Commissioner Schofer, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Of course, you know, projecting out, you know, the next 3 years, I mean, we said, you know, we're gonna try to hold it, you know, around $1 million for capital improvement. If you look at the grand total over the 5-year period, it's, right at $6.5 million. Another thing we just threw in here is, security grant money, that, Mr. Turner, provided. There's cameras and DVRs, upgrades at all schools, control access installed, and bought some door locks and hardware, you know, that was needed at Munford Elementary and Drummond's Elementary.
And like we said, Joe, this is a fluid document. That's why I'm showing you, that's what we're showing on the Promethean board in the Excel sheet, and we don't have everything passed out to you yet, because we're still waiting on some bids to come back for some final numbers on a few things. But wanted to kind of give you an idea of what we've been working on. And I'm just gonna go, I mean, Mr. Donnie's been he's awesome, y'all know that. He's worked really hard on this and, helped me with a lot of things. I think this is a really good plan to kind of get us where we need to be. I mean, we're just behind maintenance wise, and we need to get our buildings and everything back up to speed so that, you know, it's a lot cheaper to be able to maintain them, than all this replacing we're having to do now because they, you know, have kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit. So anyway, we think this will be a good plan. There'll be some things that we obviously have to tweak, as it goes on. But I'll tell you, if I've heard anything when I started into this job from y'all, from county commission, from stakeholders and everything, it was that, man, y'all have all this money in fund balance, why are you not using this money? Well, here you go. We're gonna work on spending some of that money, and we're gonna use it to better our facilities for our kids and for our teachers and everybody who are gonna be there. And of course, it's still gonna leave a good amount in there, so we'll have it for contingency if we, you know, need to have it for some kind of an emergency. But, you know, it's a good plan, but I wanna emphasize that it is fluid, because there are things that we're still, working on. Hey, if y'all have any questions, you can ask Mr. Don. I'm just kidding, I'll ask you.
I mean, it's all subject to change. I mean, you don't know, and of course, I'd recommend, you know, go over the capital improvement plan in January every year.
Yes, sir.
Because we know that some of the items you don't do this year, you have to fall into next year, you know, from you on. And when you don't have something, you won't add to it as well.
It's early cold weather could have things too.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions on this?
Donnie, I want to commend you and Dr. Combs for the work you've done on this, but I do have a question, just because I don't know.
Right.
You said we're gonna, move the sewer from Drummond's to the Mississippi River. Explain, is it a facility at the Mississippi River, or are we just gonna dump it in the river?
We're just gonna dump it. Now, the city of Munford, you know, their treatment plants, you know, they have, you know, their discharge water is going from Munford all the way up to 4L Dykes, if anybody knows where that is on the Mississippi River. And that's where they discharge. Now, the reason you want to do that is because your discharge limits, like DOD or People California, things like that, you know, you can higher concentration in it than you do at the Drummond Sewer Plant. I mean, the restrictions so low, we can't meet them with the current sewer plant.
Right.
So the state's really been on us, for probably about 10 years, and they kind of saying, you need to do something about it. So what we'll do is pump from a sewage lagoon, let the treat with chlorine to go into that existing line, and it just goes and discharges the Mississippi River rather than in a creek in, Fay Aiken's backyard.
Well, I learned something.
They built that sewer line several years ago from Mountain to the river, you know, from Mountain. Well, the sewage has been there for what, 20 years, 25 years? Been a long time. Been a long time. It's 25 years probably.
And of course, you know, it's open Brighton also sends their discharge to Munford too as well. So it's a pretty big operation down there.
Right.
And we're lucky enough to be right on, it's right in front of the school, that line. Right right there at the school, on the right of way there. So, any other questions for,
Well, I got one more thing.
okay, go ahead, okay.
If y'all through this.
Yep.
Dr. Combs and, I have met with the architect, this past month, and, we're sending, redoing the drawings to wood, studs, to the metal studs on the concession building, and the bid's open on that on December 3rd. So we'll know what the prices are on the next month. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace, for all your hard work you and Dr. Combs. Okay, go ahead.
One thing, number one, as Mr. Joyner did at the last meeting, y'all let me know, like, you know, if you hear from your constituents that there are things that maybe that we haven't included on here that, you know, would be, something we need to take care of, just let me know. I mean, shoot me an email and we'll look at it and add it in there. The other thing is, it's just, you know, we don't just put a certain amount of money out, y'all know that, say, here, each school gets this amount of money to fix it. No, you need to fix what's messed up. So, you know, it is gonna be a little different amongst all the schools, because there are some that are in worse condition than the other ones are. So, you know, we just have to, to work that way. They don't all get braces, the ones that need braces get braces, like the kids do, so.
As needed basis.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Dr. Combs, when do you think we'll be able to get a document? I know that.
I hope you have one before the next meeting, because we're waiting on some bids to come back, like the Munford light, the LED lighting stuff we were talking about.
Right.
And that'll give us a little better idea on some of those numbers, because some of those are just projected costs based on what we've done in the past. But I think you'll probably have one before the next meeting.
Well, that helps us a lot, because if something does come to us, we can look at that document and see if it's been addressed.
Absolutely, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Will they also give us a projected cost savings whenever they give us the bid for replacing?
I'm sure they can, yes, sir. We were talking, when they, the group that met with us, when we were talking to them, they were talking about, and you helped me, a 400 watt bulb, then you add ballast in there, it's like 458 or something like that. They're gonna change that to 125 watt, so you're automatically saving 300 something watts per bulb.
About 70% on outside lighting like that. Now, on your interior lighting, I mean, you changing from a 28 watt to like a 14 watt, so I mean, you're only gonna get about 15 savings on your watts there.
Outside would be big savings.
Yeah.
We think.
It wouldn't be as expensive.
All right, we'll move along then. Thank you again, Mr. Wallace and Dr. Combs. Financial report, Ms. Peggy Murdock.
Right, let's look at our budget amendment for this, period. And we have some money that has come in for the federal budget, so it's just for 142. At the back of that, set, you'll see the, justifications for what those, dollars are going to be spent for. They received in the IDEA discretionary supplemental grant, $7,500. And, those things are being spent for supplies and materials to pay for one of our testing programs, as well as some in-service development. And then the changes, the other changes are to take care of some Title I, changes in employment and their health insurance that goes along with that.
So if you want to look at those things, at your leisure, you can, but let's look at the dollars that are going to be changed. So this is just for 142, and the additional money that came to us was for the education of the handicapped, and that was $7,506.84. And then, that gave their estimated revenues for, the new budget of $6,976,619.19. And then at the bottom of that first page, you can see that in the special education program, they've added some dollars for unemployment, contract with other agencies, that's for a speech therapist, that $44,000. And they took the $44,000 away from the other contracted services to put up there. You can see that it was just flipped. And then the $200 came out of instructional supplies. So they took away $44,000 and put in $44,000. So you can kind of see that those things just offset each other. On the next page, on the other student support section, 72130, they took away $6,705.53 from other charges. They had to use that money to take care of the things that we're gonna add down here at the bottom. So then if you look at the regular instruction program in the next section, at 72,210, they added $6,641 into the medical insurance. Someone had some insurance that they didn't know about at the beginning of the planning. And then in service and staff development, they took $950 away from that and added into other equipment $1,040 to make a change in that section for $6,731. And then on the next page is the rest of the change for this 142. And they added $4,706.84 to other supplies and $2,800 to in-service staff development for a change there for the $7,506.84. That's the additional money, the revenue that we added. That's what that $7,506.84 is for. So the total changes that we had, were $7,532.31. Took away $25.47 from indirect cost, leaving the, total change of $7,506.84. Not very many changes, but had to be done in order to take care of it. Any questions about 142?
Do we have a motion to approve the amended 142 budget? Motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. McCray.
Thank you.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed.
All right, great, thank you. The financial report for the month of October for 141, we had revenue receipts of $7,218,850. That's 8.6%. You can see that we're starting to pick up just a little bit of property tax. Should increase in the next couple of months to do even better. So we have receipted 25% of our revenue, $21,233,584. Our revenue budget is now $84,272.400. Remember, that's the additional dollars that we added for our bonus is going to be reflected in the expenditures. So we didn't add anything to our revenue, but will be offset in the expenditures. So for the month of October, $7,457,003. That's 8.8% of their expenditures. For a total of those 4 months for $21,038,430. Questions on 141? All right, the 142 federal projects, they received $437,732, 6.3% of their revenue. And for their expenditures, they had $451,222.68. And if you remember your budget from the last month, they increased their budget this time after the county commission approved their amendments. Any questions about federal projects? All right, the cafeteria, they received $544,728 in October, that's 9.5%. And they had expenditures of $532,324 in the month of October. And you can see that this budget is offset as well. That's, remember, that $185,500 that you needed for equipment. That's where we increased the expenditure lines. So it's offset as well for the central cafeteria. Questions about 143? And then capital projects, you can see we have no money coming into the 177. But we spent $54,529 in October. And that money went to finish paying off some of the dollars that we owed to finish off our roofing contract. So it was $53,000 that we spent there, and $775 was for A2H, for the pumping station. So, most of the money was spent for actual construction, finishing up the roofs. That's 177. Anybody have a question?
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Peggy for the financial report as presented?
I just have a couple quick ones if I may.
Okay.
What, do you know what our current fund balance is?
Well,
approximately?
you know, it changes every day.
Right.
I would say in our budget, we reflect a $16 million fund balance. But every day there's more money in there, it flux, you know, there's a change every day in the money that comes in, goes out, comes in, goes out. But you could bank on probably 16 million. And if you'll stop by my office, I'll give you the exact amount that we have in the budget.
That is good.
Okay.
Thank you. And, talk about the bonuses. When are you gonna pay those?
They have been, sent out to the bank. They'll be delivered on the 15th. And, I think we said last month that we put it in 2 different deposits. So, all the employees will have 2 deposits on the 15th. One that will just be for the bonus, and then their regular pay. So, it's already prepared and sitting in the bank.
Thank you.
Just in time for Black Friday shopping.
There you go. There you go.
Are there any other questions on the financial report? Do we have a motion to approve it as presented? Motion by Mr. Farrell, second by Mr. Davidson. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passed. Thank you, Ms. Murdock. Dr. Moulton, you have anything else to add?
I did lay this on your table. These are 4 of our schools, that are having Veterans Day programs. And we just put this information down. If you would like to, I know certainly you like to attend those. They're usually really good programs, and they're obviously for a great cause. So, Atoka Elementary and Munford Elementary are both having programs on, Friday, tomorrow. And Austin P and Crestview are both having programs on Monday. And so the times and everything they're available for you, and I'm sure they would love it if you had an opportunity to stop by and see them and honor those veterans. Bus driver appreciation meal is tomorrow, beginning at 11 at the bus shop at Brighton, behind Brighton High School. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Vincent, you have?
Quick question for Dr. Combs. Is the, new principal at Drummond's official yet?
It's official. It is Miss Shelley Goff. Yep, just, officially, she officially got the call yesterday. And she will begin January, I was gonna say January 1. We come back on January 6th. So she'll be official in January. She'll be there starting, so.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
She's my high school graduate.
Yes, sir. She is, actually. She is. And her, she's leaving the assistant principal job at Crestview Middle School. That's where she has been. And so that job was posted today. That job was posted today. The Crestview Middle assistant principal job.
Anybody else have anything? I guess we'll see everybody at PSBA convention, starting Thursday through Sunday. Everybody, well,
Are we getting our packets today, or last time she gave us some kind of a
yeah.
I do not know. She's at, she and Ms. Lisa are at a conference.
She will probably deliver it, she will probably
We'll-
deliver it
we'll
first
deliver
of
it
next
to you.
week.
Okay.
It's gonna be delivered.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
but, if no one has anything else, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Brown, second by Mr. Joyner. We stand adjourned.